Tonight, you have before you the commercial dock for review, and you also have a section of the Hall Road that is in the city of Hudson for review. I wanted to follow up with what Ken Dow said, because Colarusso doesn't have any disagreement with the city or the planning board with respect to what we have to do going forward, and I think your council will tell you that. But if we're going to look at the history, for those of you who are new to the board, I think I have to recap it very briefly, because over 10 years ago, actually starting about 15 years ago, a planning committee, the local waterfront planning folks went all the way through the seeker process and an environmental impact statement. And they decided all the background to this zoning that you now have and the law that Ken cited. In doing that, this city found that one of the most important things to do from a planning perspective is to get the trucks off the city streets. Colarusso set out to do that and applied for permits to fix the causeway, which is in the same zone as the dock. They're seamlessly connected. If you listen to the audio that Ken referenced, they're seamlessly connected. They're part of the core riverfront district. So Colarusso set out to improve the causeway so that two-way traffic could move down the causeway and get off the city streets. That was strongly supported by a lot of people in the entire county. And as we did that, the city opposed the work. The town of Greenport, where most of the Hall Road is, declared itself lead agency. And your council just explained to you what happened there. The city fought that finding. The DEC decided that the town of Greenport should be the lead agency. The town went all the way through the seeker process and determined that the Hall Road was properly mitigated in all of its impacts, that it was good for the city, and that it was a good project. They had engineers involved. They listened to this city's engineers, their own town engineers. They went all the way through seeker. They listened to DEC that found there was no wetland impacts in the plan, and they issued a permit for the work. Then the city of Hudson sued Colarusso and the town of Greenport and took the position that the Hall Road was not properly planned. And the court found, Ken didn't discuss that lawsuit, the court found that the town of Greenport did everything right, that the town relied upon the Columbia County Planning Board's findings in a long letter that you have, that it was a matter of environmental justice to get the trucks off the city streets, and that it should be done, and that the traffic study in support of the Hall Road improvements, the causeway improvements, were properly done as the city engineer noted. So where we are right now procedurally is that seeker is done on the Hall Road, and the court found that it was done well and properly. You still have, as an involved agency, to make determination about how to apply the conditional uses, the conditional use considerations in the code to the city section of that Hall Road. Of course, as Ken said, you're free to engage in seeker. You're going to engage in seeker, as we've acknowledged, with respect to the entire commercial dock operation. When the law says that a property can get a conditional use permit, what the law is saying is that we have a right to that permit. And you have a right to look at the code as to the considerations that you would make that are listed in the code to see what conditions to impose so that that right can be exercised. That's the law with respect to the dock and the Hall Road. We don't have a lot to say about the Hall Road tonight. We've agreed to pave it, even though we weren't asked to, in order to hold down dust. We've agreed to pave a few hundred feet of the city street that's unpaved between the end of the Hall Road and the entrance of the Broad Street crossing. So Calarusa would do that as part of the project. We've discussed with the city and offered all kinds of mitigation already if it's in the context of an acceptable conditional use permit. We've said that we can even grind down the hours of operation such that the Hall Road is not even used on weekends. That was logistically difficult to figure out, but we can do it. And just as a point of clarification, we don't disagree with what Mr. Dow said about the impact of one of the lawsuits. I think it's important to bear in mind the impact of the other lawsuit and the comments of the Columbia County Planning Board with respect to getting the trucks off the city streets. This is a voluntary project to do that causeway improvement, and I think we look forward to working with the board on getting the project done. Tonight, what we've done is, previously we were told that we did not have to do a site plan because we aren't changing anything. This board asked us to do a site plan, so we did one. And we're showing in greater detail everything that is on the site and how it's used for the handling of goods and raw materials. So I will turn it over to our professional engineer, Patrick Prendergast, and he can walk you through the site plan. You also have a survey in your packet that reflects the same footprint, but has meets and bounds and so forth done by our surveyor.
Is this a survey, John, that we've had prior to today?
Pardon?
Is it a new survey?
No.
It's an old survey.
Well, it's recently done by our surveyor because...
It's not one you had before.
We don't have it.
Oh, I submitted it two meetings ago to the clerk, but I've given you all copies.
Oh, okay, that's what I meant. Did we just get it today, or is this...
No, it's old. I have another one with me I can show you.
I'm sure I have it.
Anyway, I'm Pat Prendergast, engineer from Kindergarten, working for Calarusa. Just for the folks that are new on the board, don't understand what the Hall Road is about. Calarusa has quarries up in Greenport, and their proposal is to run a new road down, across the quarry, down to Route 9, and then follow an old railway bed down to, the city line is somewhere in here, and they would follow the old railroad bed, across 9G, across the Hall, across the South Bay Causeway, and then down South Front Street, across the Broad Street crossing and into the dock. So what they currently do is they follow the truck route here, and they go around the 7th Street Park and down Columbia Street, down 3rd Street when the trucks are loaded. They go to the dock, they unload their stone, and then they go back up through Columbia Street and on their way back up through Newman Road, back to the quarry. So that's the Hall Road would take these trucks off of your city street. The other thing the Hall Road does is, for trucks that are going to the quarry or the asphalt plant, they can cut across the quarry, and if they're headed south in the county, they can make a left turn on Route 9 and just head south. Whereas today, they have to go down and follow the truck route through your 7th Street Park and up 4th Avenue.
Which way is south on Route 9? Is it going towards Hudson? Towards Warren or away from it?
Well,
Wait.
Away from it?
yes, this direction south.
Because I live don't want to go towards.
No,
Coming in.
yeah, this is heading north, this is heading south.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's just, Reader's Digest version on.
Just I have some questions
Yeah.
about the documentation and this board's access to the documentation. So for me, to understand, I went through what's posted on the city's website. I see an application from 2016 and an amended application from 2017. There are several appendices that are cited in the application, none of which I have access to. And so, for instance, I have not seen a site plan. I have no idea of the relationship to what's being proposed, to what's existing. And I'm wondering how and whether I might inform myself, and I imagine that the other new folks also might need
Yeah, let me address
access.
some of that. Some of that might be my fault. I'm just getting up to speed on how we're doing this. Because I think there was some confusion. We got the packet in from Pat's firm, which gave us the new application, the narrative, the new site plan, and the old survey. I thought that had been circulated around to all the planning board members, and apparently it wasn't. It actually posted. We didn't have that. So, and I do apologize. That was part of my confusion. We weren't sure where it was going to.
One of the problems with these drawings here, there's about 16 sheets of drawings. When I originally sent PDFs over to Linda at City Hall, she tried valiantly to put it on the city's website, but she said that the file size was too big. So,
Can you optimize? I mean, one can turn a 24 by 36 inch PDF into a 1.2 megabyte file. I mean, that should be a
I could look into that. I had no idea that what the issue was at the city level. So what I did was, recently, Ryan had asked for them again. I sent him a PDF of it and said, look, if you have a way to, put this on the city's website, that would be great, but I don't know how to do that.
We will fix that or figure out a way to make sure. I mean, you're all going to need it, and we have to make it available for the public too. Some of the details on the cause, the site plan, you don't necessarily need the construction details, but the rest of them.
Actually, I mean, that helps me understand what's being
Okay,
done.
you'll see, right? I mean,
So,
you'll see.
because, it's very hard to read the narrative. We've got this causeway, it looks like it has a rail bed on it from the narrative.
It does.
And then we're planning on crowning it with a new 2-lane road, is that, it's very hard to understand whether it's following the exact profile of the existing causeway,
Let him
whether there's a new
explain, yeah.
segment of landfill that's going parallel to, it's, none of it is clear from the documents that I
Can
can
you explain that,
access.
Pat?
Yeah, okay.
Excuse me, before you get to that, I sent everything you have tonight, the narrative, the site plan, and the survey. I sent it to everybody's email before, last week. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you did.
But none of that includes any information on the Hall Road.
Right, yeah.
No, the hall, it did not include the site plan on the hall road, you're right. And what it does, what it didn't include, and I think they should do it because it makes it easier for everyone, is a narrative refers to previous studies that have been done and provided to the planning board. We don't have them as a single packet
Right.
of documents, so there's
Right.
a noise study, there's a traffic study, or something else.
And
So I think we certainly should have that all consolidated in a single discrete, document. That's your application document.
Okay.
So-
All right, so as far as the causeway, you had questions on that. All right, so this is a plan here, this is sheet number 8. How they access or use the South Bay Causeway now is, there's about a 16-foot wide gravel road that's very close to the edge of the wetland. The plan is to abandon that part, topsoil it over, seed it, and construct a paved road in the middle of the causeway where the grade is a little bit higher there and it's better rounded. And the purpose of that, of course, number one, is to allow for two-way traffic through there, trucks coming and going, so they don't have to go through the city. And a secondary kind of benefit to this is the fact that the existing gravel road, and it is a gravel surface, it's all railroad stones and whatnot, ballast. This roadway is right at the edge of the wetland now. So when trucks go over that, they pulverize the stone, it rains, you get dirty sediment runs directly into the wetland. The plan is to have a paved road down the middle so that you can have room for what DEC refers to as like a grass filter strip on either side of it. So when it rains, whatever sediment is on there would be filtered out in the grass before it goes there. This was all studied by DEC and approved, and we have permits to do this work. We also had Norbert Quenzer from Quenzer Environmental did studies of this and proposed different replanting areas where certain types of vegetation would be planted that the DEC asked him to do. So that's part of this as well. Okay, this is you know, the first half of the causeway. This is the second half here. Basically, it's the same plan. The road goes down the center of it. It follows an old set of railroad tracks that used to go this way when trains were going north. I don't know, you weren't here, but the original South Bay Causeway was constructed about 100 years ago for the purpose of rail cars. That's why it has a section that goes this way and a section that goes this way. This was for trains going south, trains going north. It used to, at one of the meetings, I showed a picture from the 1940s where there were 4 sets of railroad tracks in here, and that's where the cement company used to stage their trains. They had a lot of trains in here, and I have those pictures I could send to you if you've never seen them. But so anyway, so this would be paved, and it would be paved right up to where the pavement ends on South Front Street now. So there's a couple hundred feet of city street that would get paved as a part of this, and that was for dust mitigation for the South Front Street area. So from here, the path just leads to the Broadway street crossing. These are just the intersections here, but this leads over to the Broad Street crossing where the trucks cross over to the dock property to drop off stone that they crush up in the quarries and bring down here. This is the site plan for the dock. The area that Ken Dow was talking about with the repaired bulkhead, that was this area here. I've gone through this before, but for you new members, this bulkhead was concrete on top of old wood, pressure-treated wood, and it was rotting and falling in. So back in 2014, I recommended to the Colorusso folks that they really ought to replace that because the ground was settling here, and I was afraid that that was going to go fall in. And there are people that go back and forth through here with kayaks. So they went through the environmental studies for DEC and the Army Corps and got their blessing on that. And the rotten material was replaced with steel that matched the rest of this. And that is what triggered an order to remedy from Craig, and that's why we came here for the conditional use site plan permit for the site. And as Ken pointed out, now, because they did this repair here, the rest of the site has to be looked at by your board. So, this is the site here. It's been this way for probably about 100 years, other than there were more buildings there. There's nothing proposed to be changed here. There's no new buildings proposed, there's no new structures, there's no new equipment. The only thing new is the steel bulkhead that was done. There was an erosion repair here that DEC approved of, and that was, the land here was falling into the water, so that's been repaired to DEC satisfaction there, but there's no other improvements here other than we have landscaping along the fence here. It's designed not to be tall because although you can't see from anywhere along here, you can't see the lighthouse from anywhere along here, you can see the mountains. So the plan was to make landscaping that would be about, at maturity, about the height of the fence that's there now. So that would provide some screening. There was also some screening there and some screening along here. What we have added to the site were things that the board had asked in order to memorialize what they do there. So basically, you have trucks cross the Broad Street crossing. They go down.
Can you just, sorry,
Sure.
to interrupt. Could you just back up, because the previous plan, you had us leaving the Hall Road. Can you just track me from the,
Sure.
from where you leave the, which, I assume there's a property line, and then you have inner city streets, which is public way?
Right. Okay, so this is the end of the Hall Road coming off of the South Bay Causeway, and this is the property line right here.
Okay.
So this is the path they use today, which is a city street, but it's not it's not paved, it's just a gravel street. So they're going to,
Public land.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So they're going to pave from here to here,
Okay.
where there is no paving now. This has been a source of dust, and with it paved, it should not be a source of dust. So they cross Broad Street crossing here, they go through here.
So do you have an easement from the rail company or something?
Right. Yes, from somewhere in here to the fence line, which is here, it's an easement from CSX for Colarusso to use the dock. That's where their trucks come in here. And then from here over, this is the property that Colarusso bought.
Okay.
All right, so basically, they come from the quarry. Right now, they're taking some city streets. They come across the South Bay Causeway with a loaded truck, cross Broad Street, come in here, and basically, all the truckers do things slightly different than one another. They all have their own preferences, which they want to turn around or whatnot, but basically involves driving in here, 3-point turn, back up, dump their stone on the pile. There's different size rocks that they send out, and the plan is to load barges. They can have 2 barges here and 2 barges tied up to those barges, so they can have a total of 4 barges sitting there.
And so the sort of bubbly shapes on the plan, those are stockpiles? Or I have
Yeah, those
four
are
here?
those are stockpiles. This is about how many stockpiles they could put there. A typical day, they don't have that many stockpiles there. Maybe they have 2 like that. If they had a really big order coming in, they could put that many. They could put that many piles there if they needed to. This area here, this is a paved 2.5 acre pad that I designed back in the 90s when this was a salt storage area. That's what that was designed for. This was designed for salt storage. Ships from Chile would come in, discharge their salt, they load trucks, and the trucks would go off to the municipalities. So the asphalt pad was there. It was a good place to dump stone. Keeps it cleaner. This pond here used to be a lined pond. It was lined with 20 mil PVC, and it would collect salt water. And we had a discharge permit, or the salt company had a discharge permit to discharge salt water from this pond to the river. They could do 10,000 gallons a day. They don't do salt here anymore, so the liner was taken out of the pond. Now basically, the runoff from the pile, which is more or less just sediment, you're dealing with crushed rocks. When it rains, you can get some sediment. It heads this way, it goes into the pond. The pond has a gravel bottom. Basically, it just infiltrates the stone there. So that's what this is used for. These areas out here, they occasionally get used. It's for additional storage if they had a pile that needed to be over there. Equipment. The Coast Guard likes to put their buoys in there in the winter time, and so they do that free of charge. So these are typical piles. Basically, how a barge is loaded. There's a conveyor here, a radial conveyor. They scoop the stone up with a front end loader, dump it in the hopper. It goes into this conveyor here. This is a radial conveyor that swings back and forth, and basically that's how they keep the stone piles even in the barge so they don't tip it over. So that's what the equipment is. This is a mobile piece of equipment they could hook up to a pickup truck and drag away if they had to. This is a shipping container where they keep their safety equipment and tools and things like that. That's just a metal shipping container. There's an office trailer here and a truck scale. They have a porta-john there. There's an existing silo, which we measured at 137 feet high, and we measured the height of the building was, I think it was 67 feet high. These are existing things. Well, everything I'm talking about here, this is all existing. You could go back through your Google Earth photographs, scroll back through the history. It all looks the same as far back as you want to go. There's no proposed change here. So,
But does the proposal to add the haul road increase the amount
No.
of stone and everything being dumped on the site?
no, it does not.
It's the exact same as what?
It's the exact same
current
thing,
level is.
yes. It's not going to sell any more stone for them. The whole haul road thing is a voluntary thing that they don't need to do. they would like to do. They don't like driving down Columbia Street, it's rather narrow. They think it's kind of sketchy, dangerous, 18-wheelers on a city street. The city engineering department has asked them over the years, gee, could you find another way? It's not good for our infrastructure, things like that. It's not gonna increase their demand for business. I mean, they can truck as much stone down there as they need now. It's limited by who needs the stone.
So if market conditions change, then the potential for more stone at the site would change as well. That could potentially increase depending on market demand.
Yeah, I suppose it could, yeah.
Steve, one of the points that you're going to look at and you're going to consider here is you're evaluating and giving a conditional use permit for the activities that they're proposing. And I think as what Ken was pointing out earlier is because this dock operation predated all the zoning in the city of Hudson, there had never been an opportunity before for the city to get a handle on the dock and put any conditions or limits on it. Like everything we talked about the hotel they'd be concerned about, they never had that opportunity to do it because it was a pre-existing use. It's sort of how land use law works. So the law was changed in 2011 to create a vehicle for the city to get a handle on it. And that's why the trigger was any improvements on the property, in this case repairing the bulkhead, triggered the conditional use review. So the means of the city to put some limits and controls of what's happening there. It's not a matter of abolishing the use, but putting some controls in there and deciding what's the appropriate mitigation, and of course then became a vehicle also to help get the trucks off the street and onto the Hall Road instead, because that would be a less of an impact. And there was a legislative determination by the city council back in 2011, because that's why it was all zoned as part of the
Core Riverfront
District.
Yeah, Core River, the CR district. That's why all of that was included, recognizing that it had all been in the ownership of St. Lawrence Cement and then Colorusso to take care of all of that. So now you're going to have the opportunity to decide what kind of conditions you're going to put in there. And my suggestion is going to be, as you're looking forward on this, is they're giving you information and the potential impacts based on what they talked about as their current use. You're going to evaluate what that means in terms of how high are the stockpiles, where are they, what does that mean? I'm suggesting you look at what is the equipment that Colorusso use there, and they've given us some of their information. So it's got, and I'm not going to be technical about it, you've got a conveyor that's capable of X tons an hour or something. That's fine. They're free to replace that as it goes out. But if they're going to replace it with something that's materially larger, that says increases its capacity by 20% or something, threshold, you would require a trigger and come back for site plan review and a special use permit again. Then you would be able to evaluate.
I have a question
How
for
does
you.
that
Sorry.
increase the thing? So that's how you're going to, can address questions of, we don't want to turn this thing into far bigger than we're anticipating you're approving.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused because you're kind of now telling us what we're going to,
What you can do, I'm telling you.
Right. And I just want to make a comment that the decision-making is done by a majority of this board. And obviously, there's legal counsel, there's engineer who advises us on legal matters and engineering matters. But at the end of the day, 4 votes dictates Hudson policy. And I understand there's different opinions on it. I know Jeff is sort of detailing some potential issues and conditions that could be mitigated, but I just want to remind everybody that our support council and engineer are here to support our decision-making. And again, our policy is dictated by 4 votes, majority vote of the 7 members of this body.
But just to clarify, so are you saying that we have the power to approve or deny a conditional use permit, or just to put conditions on a conditional use permit?
Well, you have, in theory, the ability to deny a conditional use permit if it is asking for something that you think is inconsistent with what the law provides.
Well, that's not a
I mean,
theoretical power, that's an actual power.
Well, it is actually, but you're constrained. I mean, you can't be illegal, you can't be arbitrary and capricious. As John Pivotera said, I mean, the fact is, there's been already a legislative determination, right, that you are bound by. that a commercial dock there is appropriate with conditions that mitigate the impacts on surrounding property. So yes, you have plenty of discretion, but your discretion is constrained within various limits.
Jeff, but the court that was referring to the Hall Road.
No, it was referring to the dock.
The second Malconian decision.
But, right, the seeker decision applied only to the hall. The second case, where Colarusso sued the city, went to the question of the jurisdiction of the dock, and you have full jurisdiction over the dock as a conditional use permit. As something that's been...
And we have the actual authority to deny outright, should that be the determination of the board.
Well, you have to have a reason.
Sure, of course. It can't be arbitrary or capricious, right?
And it cannot be because you say, we don't think there should be a commercial dock there. That cannot be one of the reasons. I just want to make it clear, that is not what you cannot make that decision. You can decide if you've got a rational basis, it's too noisy, it's too dusty, or something like that. But those are your parameters that you're looking at.
I want to make a quick comment, which has been my comment for the last 3 years approximately, which is the biggest issue in my mind on the dock is truck count. And I appreciate the comments that Colarusso currently doesn't plan to expand operations. It comes and goes with the economy. I understand all that, but if we are putting a cap, for lack of a better word, on the trucks, we need to understand what that is, and that someone else, Colarusso or others that own the land, could potentially run trucks at a worst-case scenario, which is, right now, there's 284 trucks a day for, again, Pat's worst-case condition, but we as a board, I believe, need to understand that if that's a worst-case condition, that potentially that could be every day. And there's unless there's other constraints, they tell us that it's going to be 2 times a year, that it's 284 a day, but none of that has been detailed for us. And I want to indicate also that we've asked a number of times for backup information on the truck counts. I know Colarusso has pushed back on that repeatedly, but it seems to me, and I know there's documentation going back almost 3 years that B&L put together, which was documenting a request for additional information relative to current truck counts and historic truck counts. Now, what we do with that is our own judgment, and if we overstep our bounds, and Colarusso believes we're overstepping our bounds, they're well within their rights, I believe, to sue as needed. But I don't feel like them withholding the information that we've been asking for, again, for 3 years, is a legitimate response.
So I have so many questions. To you, I wanted to know, so when you recommended the erosion repair, and whenever that was 2014, were you aware of section 317.d.1 did you know you were triggering something?
I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I'm 30 years in business, I've never seen that anywhere. That was new to me. I saw erosion problem, and I told them it would be a good idea if they went ahead and fixed that.
Okay, so then my follow-up question.
But you had to realize it was on a navigable water, too.
Absolutely, that's why we went to Army Corps of Engineers, DEC, Office of General Services, Department of State, everybody who had anything got to do with that.
Pat, but it's very clear in the Hudson Code. I mean, we can read that.
No, I understand. I don't disagree with you.
Oversight to say that you can proceed without coming to the planning board, and we've been through this many times, but clearly it was indicated in the code that any number of actions on your site would
Right.
trigger a full planning board review.
As I understand it now, if they changed the doorknob on the trailer, it would require conditional use.
So that's my next question then. So you didn't know that you were going to trigger, and you triggered, and you got this order of remedy, which I think is dated January 29,
2017, I think, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And if I read the order to remedy, it's an order, right? And you have a 30-day window to apply, right?
Right.
Uh,
I don't remember if it said 30 days or not, but it did say,
So what I'd like to
Make
understand from
application.
the company's point of view, and other people in the room might have a different point of view, but I'd like to understand what's transpired between an order to remedy in January of 2017 and now. I'd like to hear it from the company.
It's more of a legal thing. Is that
It is more of a legal thing,
Well,
but
maybe the lawyer can tell us.
we turned in a site plan.
What they went in is, and I'll shorten it, but it cover the thing Ken talked about it. There was the order of revenue, which said you're subject to the site. They contested that and said, you know, it wasn't true. What that language was. They appealed that determination to the ZBA, you know, which reviews orders of the code enforcement officer. The ZBA denied that appeal. They didn't challenge. They had 30 days to challenge that ZBA appeal. They didn't challenge it. They then put in the application for the conditional use permit to the planning board. They were arguing to the planning board about what the extent of the planning board's jurisdiction and what the extent that the planning board could look for under seeker, basically trying to re-argue the issue that put to the ZBA. I don't know exactly sure what happened next, it doesn't matter, but the Colarusso then sued
And when did the lawsuit, when was that lawsuit?
It started in
After the city sued us.
late 17. But
After the city sued us.
what do you mean after the city?
Separate matter.
You mean on the?
That's a separate matter.
On the next deck?
I know.
On the next.
That's right, it was a separate matter. The city sued us on the Hall Road.
Right, but you just made
Oh,
it sound
on the-
causal.
on the-
Or you
on the
didn't
next
sue
deck.
because they sued.
No, it was after. I
Right.
just said it was after, it wasn't causal.
Right.
But it was.
And the overall issue, just so you understand, was we thought that there was a distinction in law between a repair and an improvement. The ZBA said that the repair was an improvement, and that's why we're here. We're complying.
anyway, well-
We've complied with the order to
So
run.
they sued to challenge that. That case sat, or, you know, went through the litigation for roughly a year. A little over a year, I think, before you got the decisions from Malconian. So anyway, the decisions from Malconian came in January of 2019. And then, starting, I guess, in March or whatever of last year, Colarusso revived the application, which you have here now, and it's been under consideration since. And
Right, but
basically, they're allowed to continue operating while their application is pending, as long as they are pursuing it in a proper due diligence and giving the information. At some point, if you were to find that they are being uncooperative and not providing the information that you need, you could deem that, say, I'm denying your application because you're failing to provide the information.
It's an incomplete application.
Well, it's more than incomplete. It's simply just saying, you know, you give them a deadline to provide it, or I'm going to deny it, and then there would be a consequence that they would lose their ability to operate on the dock. That is unlikely to happen because they'll provide you the information that you legitimately need. But that's why this process has gone on so long in terms of their operations from when they started doing the work until where we are now. The litigation essentially put some holds on the application process.
And they've never been given a deadline.
No, not at this point, and this is where you're working towards, and it's a matter of identifying, you know, what critical information that should have been provided. And I think just, you know, from my review of what's happened over the last year, there's some lack of communications and clarity among some of, you know, what the planning board was wanting and what was being communicated. You know, I didn't find anything in the record that said they were told not to supply a full site plan. I mean, the full site plan was obviously required from the beginning. Now you have one, now you have a, you know, a decent start of a project narrative.
So, am I clear in understanding that the site plan that came in January of 2020 is the first complete site plan that
Yes.
accompanied the application?
Yes.
No, there was a site plan given at least a year ago at the beginning that it was based on a survey, and it just showed what was there. It didn't show mobile equipment and things like that. That was requested.
Right, a site
and then we
plan,
added
a
that.
site plan includes things on the site, correct?
Typically,
Yes, okay.
No, hold on. Typically, what a person would put on a site plan would be if they're going to build a new building, if they're going to have a permanent structure. I'm showing, everything on here is temporary. That conveyor, I showed it here. I bet it isn't there today. It's probably over here looking this way.
Right.
These are all movable
The
items.
jurisdiction that we have is over the operations on the dock and the conditions that we impose on those operations. to understand those operations, I mean, the site plan that includes temporary or fixed or.
That's why
or-
everything is on here now.
And as of January 2020, so my question to you is why, as an applicant, this information was not part of the public record ages ago, frankly? Why all these hearings without a site plan?
We've been to probably every Hudson Planning Board meeting last year that we were invited to, and we brought the site plans along, we showed the landscaping, we showed what the board asked us to do. We've had several meetings with Walter Chatham where we walked around the site, we had some of the board members here, and I honestly thought we gave the board what they needed,
Pat,
or what
I'm just
they
going to make a
wanted.
quick comment. I would say in the last year or so, we've asked for a full application and a full site plan. I know the board at one point voted in favor of going to a public hearing. I opposed that because that was a notion at the time that it was a substantially complete application. The application was not substantially complete. To answer Larry's question, in my views, tonight is the first night that we've received the full application and the site plan for the dock operations, which we've been asking for, at least I've been asking for as a board member for months.
I mean, you make a good point in that the board, with your lawyer giving you advice, at that time, sometime last year, said that it was deemed complete and ready for public comment. And we've had at least 4 public meetings at this point where the public was able to comment. And in one of the meetings, Sam Pratt brought a colored print and pointed out, well, gee, what's this, what's this, what's this? So as a result of that, the board requested this information back in November. I went ahead and detailed all these other items that the board had asked me about.
So here we are.
So here we are.
Okay, it's a little bit clearer now.
Are there any other questions by the board?
One of the things that was submitted, online, is the traffic study
Oh, the one,
that we just got.
the demonstration of the Broad Street cars? Yeah, we had Creighton Bannon came to one of your board
No,
meetings.
just recently that we got. Is that the,
That's the same one. What that is, that's a video of the simulation that they did. Because they can't just give you the simulation because it requires special software to run it. So they did run that here at one of our public meetings. I don't remember which one it
So
was.
we have all, that's not new.
No, that's not new.
Okay.
I had Creighton Manning do a video of it so they could email it to you folks and y'all could watch it.
We got it, but it's not very true to what's there.
I'm like so confused by watching.
It's just, well,
The truth,
we could bring Ken, I could bring Ken back and show you again if you'd like. Show you in the reel, and then you could ask Ken the questions.
there's a divided roadway that represents the railroad crossing the,
Right, because the
They have
road,
a cars, they used the cars.
they had to use cars instead of trains for the model because
Oh.
the model didn't have train cars. So they showed a bunch of parked cars there to simulate the fact that the road was blocked and you couldn't go across.
That's why I watched it
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was probably confusing, but when Ken was here, he explained all that. You were here for that, weren't you,
I was
Don?
here for that, but I
Okay.
think it was detailed with Front Street, Broad Street. It probably would have been better to put rail line over where those cars are crossing the Broad Street crossing. Just to make it clear, I mean, that would be the way I would have done it. That's me.
I hear you.
Okay, that answers it. Sorry, I thought that was something new.
No, it's
When
not
it was
new at
being
all.
shown, that must have been explained, and of course then I forgot, because why wouldn't I? I mean, and I saw these cars and I thought, I just don't remember this ever being that way.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
He had to
Okay.
videotape
It's
because
all right.
you all don't have that kind of software.
Now we're on to our next.
We're going on to next. Now, just to everybody know, this was a presentation from Colarusso for both the Hall Road and dock operations. Thank you for that, Pat. Next month, we will continue or reopen the public hearing. So we will proceed in this meeting on to the other presentations planned. Backing up a little bit, this had been planned for 10 minutes. Obviously, we let them go on for the time that was needed because it was very important for all. And the upcoming presentations by Valley Alliance and our Hudson waterfront will proceed next.
Before we get to that,
Yeah.
let's just talk a bit about the site plan that was submitted, and I think that you provided, Ryan, did your copy get for all the planning board members?
What was distributed, I have copies.
I did bring, I think I've got 5 extra copies I didn't make.
Will be
No.
published to you.
So I can,
Ryan has taken a first crack at reviewing the site plan and narrative and created a list of questions that will be, for your review, obviously, and for Colarusso to look at. What I would say is you should, review these at your leisure. It should provide you a basis, of any other, a point of reference for looking at it. If there's any other questions you have or information that you think they should provide. If there's things you've got questions, what Ryan raised, is whether it's important or not, you can feel free to raise that also. I think we'll give an opportunity.
Linda has one, so we're okay.
I'll leave it up to Colarusso to decide if they want to, respond to these and provide an updated site plan before the next meeting. That's up to their, they can decide how they want to
So
deal with
if
that.
we have, Clark, if we have questions or comments about, I'm not going to do anything on it now. Should we, what should we do?
We have a consolidated list of additional questions.
No, I mean, she's saying, should we direct, specifically about this document?
Oh.
Should we direct that to the chair, or should we direct it to Ryan directly, or?
I would suggest you send it to Betsy and Ryan and myself.
All right.
We'll circulate
I
them.
just want to make it, if I have a question or comment, I don't want it to be eliminated by Betsy or you, frankly, Jeff.
Not eliminated.
If I have a question for Ryan, I want Ryan, even if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't make sense, contact me. I don't want it to be discarded because somebody says to discard it.
Is it possible to do a site visit? Because I'm not
Yes.
familiar with the roads. I know what Baldwin is, but I'm not that familiar with where they.
I think that is an excellent idea, especially for all the new board members. John, can we make an arrangement for a site visit to the planning board?
I mean, I've seen you there, but
Oh,
I've
sure.
never gone back there to see what you're doing or what you look like. I mean, it looks too bad to go back.
And I would think it would be very useful if we could schedule one during a day of operations. Okay?
Thank
Where
you.
you've got trucks coming in and you're loading a barge.
We can work with you on doing that and getting it done.
Will
I
that
would really
include the
like
whole,
to see this.
will that include the whole road as well?
Yeah, see the whole thing.
Yeah.
What are we making a decision on?
JR, how would you like new board members to contact you about setting up an appointment?
I'm gonna make a suggestion, we'll coordinate with the chair, and we'll consolidate the times.
And we all
Instead
go
of trying to figure it out
together?
now,
Can we go together?
we'll figure it out with the chair.
Okay, it's only 3 of us.
No, it can be the whole board, but the issue is you're not going to be conducting board business there. You are just going there to observe. They will explain what they're doing. You don't.
Can we ask questions?
Limited, very limited. In terms of you say, what is that, you can ask those
Okay,
questions.
so
Of
what is
course,
this,
for
what is that?
description, why are you doing that, how is that, you can certainly ask that. You're not going to have discussions among yourselves on the substance of it. This is all to avoid open meetings law violations.
Laura, just to your question
Yeah.
earlier, if there's specific questions you have, keep those. We definitely want to consolidate them as well, but if you feel like you want to keep them for yourself to make sure that they're all covered, I would recommend you doing that.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
no, but you don't.
Okay.
I think, just so you know, most, the older, John, you've done a tour, right? You have, Clark.
I have photos online that I can send everybody that is basically a ground level view of everything that was there last May, I think it was.
Yeah, I
You know,
remember.
and then if you do a site visit, at least you'll be familiar with
Yeah,
what's
I'm
there.
more of a visual person, I have to go see it myself.
I take it the public won't be able to speak tonight. It's
There's no
late.
public.
Yeah, there wasn't.
I know, but yeah, outside of public, that's okay.
Next month is.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to.
Can I ask the question about the documents you received, just how the public is going to get that before the next meeting?
They'll be posted on the website.
Okay, but they've been with the board for a while. I've sent in some emails asking if there's new submissions. Would the board consider creating an interested parties list, as I've seen done on other issues, that notifies interested parties, such as our group, when new materials are? Because I can't just guess when the website is going to be.
We track the website when new items come up. We should be, the website is a comprehensive site for all
What I'm saying is, if there are
documentation.
interested parties, there's a number of groups in the room as well as citizens, who, if they say specifically notify the new application materials are, I think it just, it avoids us then having a conflict about, we didn't know this document was there.
That seems easy, I get notifications all the time that I don't want.
Sam, can we just take it offline, because we're not doing public comment tonight, but we can discuss that.
I wasn't commenting, it was really
I understand.
procedural.
I mean, we have to, we don't find out till we look, you know, it's, I don't know.
So you're gonna
It's a
get
good
back to us with the date? and which one?
Yes, so we can coordinate directly with Colin Russo
But
and.
how many board members are interested, just so we know? I've already done it, so I'm not.
I've done it as well.
Okay, so Thursday.
Like I said, I'll send everybody a copy of the photos that I took last year to give you a head start.
Okay.
Can we move on to presentations
Yes.
by other groups?
Yes.